Okay, I think we are recording now.
Webinar is now broadcasting.
Okay.
All right.
And I figure we'll give some time for guests to arrive.
Okay. We have 8 people on right now.
The number is going up. Good deal.
Hey, Eric, how are you?
They're probably muted, so they aren't likely to be able to respond. You guys can use the chat window to respond. Alt-H will open it, and then you can type messages there.
Let's see. Good morning, Ned, Tom, Heather.
Morning. I mute myself.
Hey, Eric, how are you?
I'm good. I'm trying to get my
Is Poco with you? Where is he?
Yeah, he's nearby. He was barking earlier like, I'm bored, let's do something.
So cute. All right, so wait a couple more minutes and then we'll get ready to start. Let's see. Oh.
Oh, there's Diane. She is also muted, but we'll just acknowledge as people arrive.
Hey, Tom Boog, can you try to hit unmute? Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yes.
I have to allow him to talk, but
Okay. Okay. Tom. Tom Booz is trying to see if he can hear us when he has a question. And that's why he's not able to speak.
I tried to, I thought I unmuted him, but
No, we cannot hear you.
he can use the chat to ask a question with Alt-H and then type it in.
We also have an attendee calling in from 512. Welcome.
Oh, there's Bobby. I see Bobby call me. Bobby and Diane.
Is anyone else chatting? Because I'm only seeing messages from Aaron. Okay.
Oh, we have Karen. Welcome. We'll be just about to start, just giving a few minutes for people to arrive.
Oh, we have one person trying to speak, but they're having issues with the speaker, so we'll get ready to start in 1 minute. All right, guys, good morning. How's everybody? Let's go ahead and start. We've got some folks having some audio difficulties, but we will work on that. So with that, let me go ahead and start. My name is Angie Hall. I'm the Director for Training and Education Services with Travis Association for the Blind. This is our first learning webinar, so welcome. And we're glad to really be able to provide this need and support and, you know, go over a few topics that we had listed here that you'll hear through this webinar. And hopefully this is the first of many that we'll be able to conduct with various groups. So with that, I don't want to hold up everything. So we do have a very full agenda here. I want to turn it over to Mr. Thomas Stivers. He is our supervisor for my training unit. So with that, Thomas, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Glad everybody could make it today. I want to say thank you to Dr. Laura Miller's office, Northwest Hills Eye Care, for inviting us to join with them to put on this presentation. Today, we're going to talk about how to participate in virtual meetings as someone who is blind or visually impaired. Can I actually access the same materials? What special steps do I need to take to make sure that I'm getting equal access to a virtual meeting for myself, for work, for my child who might be blind? And how can I use these virtual meetings to learn something new or just to keep myself entertained in this crazy time that we're having right now? Good morning, Karen. To help us today, we have Aaron Hoffman, who's going to speak to us a bit about the technical side of things. We have Dan Hart, who's going to speak to us about how to use virtual meetings for business purposes. We have Taryn Schriever, who's going to speak about virtual meetings in the context of education, how to make sure your children stay educated and entertained. And finally, Devon Guzman is going to speak about how to use virtual meetings for entertainment and socialization and self-development. We hope this will be the first of many of these virtual meetings. And we have several other topics that we'll cover as well, and we're always looking for ideas for new topics. If you would like a copy of the agenda and sort of the notes for this meeting, I will make those available by email to anybody who wants it. Just send a message to thomas.stivers@austinlighthouse.org. And I'll give my address again at the end of the meeting. So without further delay, let me introduce Aaron. He's going to give some quick rundown of how to use the Zoom client most effectively. Aaron?
Thank you, Thomas. My name is Aaron Hoffman. I'm an adaptive technology instructor at the Travis Association for the Blind. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to go over a few quick tips on if you're joining us from the phone, from your mobile device, or even from the computer, how you can do a few things to get the most out of Zoom today. And I'll start with muting or unmuting. If you would like to hear us chatting or unmuting something, if you're on the PC, you can use the keystroke Alt and A to mute or unmute. And if you're muted, you can hold the space bar, like I am, for a push-to-talk function. And if you're visually looking on the desktop, this button will be a small microphone on the bottom left on a bar. You click it once, it'll have a no sign diagonally across it, meaning you're muted. Click it again, and you'll be unmuted. On your mobile device, there's the bottom bar down there. It's the same as on the desktop. You'll see a small microphone there. You can tap it again to mute or unmute yourself. And if you're on the phone, you can use *6 to mute yourself, *6 again to unmute, or you can press 9 to mute everyone, including yourself. And the next is going to be accessing chat. If you want to bring up the chat window on the computer, you can use Alt and H for the keystroke. And if you're using JAWS, you can use Control T to give focus to it. If you are using the mouse, it'll be on the bottom bar about where you found the microphone there, and it'll be a little chat bubble. You click it, the chat window will pop up. If you're on mobile, it'll also be the bottom bar, the little bubble there. You can chat to all, or you can tab once for chat, and then you can select participants so you can type individually to them. And the last is going to be raising or lowering your hand. That'll be for our Q&A session, or if y'all have a question. And for the computer, PC, you'll have Alt and Y to raise or lower your hand. And for mobile, it'll be on the bottom bar. It'll be the 3 dots for the More button. It'll be in More, and you can raise your hand there. And on the phone, you can use *9 to raise your hand or lower your hand. And that will be a few keystrokes to help you get the most out of Zoom today. And now I will pass it along to Dan Hart for business aspects of using virtual meetings. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. So a lot of companies are using Zoom to conduct their business. We're really lucky as blind people because Zoom is the most accessible of these virtual conferencing programs. Blind people have been using it probably for the last 5 years. If you are familiar with blind technology circles, Jonathan Mosen, who works for Freedom Scientific and does radio shows and things like that, has made a book that actually covers how to use Zoom for everything from just joining your first meeting up to hosting a webinar for business or for entertainment reasons. So I recommend that book, and I've included it in our notes for today's meeting that I'll send out. With that, we'll come over to Dan, who's going to speak about how virtual meetings are important in business and how blind people can participate in those virtual meetings just as well as anybody else. Go for it, Dan.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Dan Hart. I am a data and accessibility specialist here at Travis Association for the Blind. I have to say this because I am an uber technical science fiction geek. May the 4th be with you. Okay, I said it. Now I'm good. Okay, Zoom meetings to be used for business purposes. What is the overall benefit of this? Number one, collaboration. It allows you to hold face-to-face meetings with folks, just as if you're in a board meeting or if you're in a local, if you're at work. During this pandemic, I know for our own team, we have benefited greatly from having these Zoom type meetings. We have another tool that we use, but it's essentially the same as Zoom. It's very, very nice to be able to get the entire team together in one spot, to be able to see each other, to be able to hear each other, and to have just a general meeting. On that note, what these tools also allow you to do is it allows you to work together from a distance. You still have that sense of connection with your managers, supervisors, as well as your fellow coworkers. There's not that sense of isolation. That has actually helped me out on a very personal level to make sure that I still feel like I'm a part of the team and I'm a part of the every day-to-day operations going on at work, even though I've been working at home the majority of the time. Zoom also allows you to share files and ideas right then and there. As you're on a call with someone such as this, you're able to spin up different files, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, anything of that nature, and it allows you to share those ideas right then and there while you're thinking about it, as opposed to having to go through and say email somebody and having to get back to somebody. It allows you to do that real-time collaboration and sharing of ideas and files. Lastly, Accountability. Accountability is something that when you're working at home, it's very easy to fall into some really bad habits. However, with these types of tools, gives the ability to, again, have these meetings from a face-to-face standpoint. And what it does is it gives you the ability to document tasks a person is responsible for right then and there. You have that two-way communication. It also allows the person that's going to be performing those tasks to be able to explain what the expectations are with your meeting in that face-to-face, or with your team in that face-to-face meeting. Really, it's a way to stay connected, and it's a way to continue on with your business and not to be isolated, and to still continue on with your collaboration and with your teammates. Just want to say thank you everybody again for joining, and if you have any questions, I think our contact information will be sent out, and with that I will turn it back to you, Thomas.
As always, I tried to speak while muted. Thank you so much, Dan. That really comes home to me, the fact that we can collaborate when we're not all in the same place, because right now I am sitting at home at my table in the living room with an IV in my hand because I'm receiving some medication. So that would not have been possible from the office. And even holding a phone up and doing all of that would have been pretty awkward in this situation. So I really am appreciating being able to work virtually today. Next up, Ms. Taryn Shriver is going to speak to us about Zoom for Education and how to make sure that, not just for Zoom, but for all these virtual platforms, how to make sure that your child is getting the most out of it and is able to get full access to all the information, and how to make sure, say you're a blind parent, how to make sure that you are getting the full set of information that's going on, the communication from the teachers and so forth. So Taryn, would you go ahead and take it from here?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am Taryn Shriver. I am a store clerk here at Travis Association for the Blind. I run and manage our low vision aids store. So I am also a parent. I have two children. I have a 10-year-old and a 3-year-old. And of course, my 10-year-old is home from school and using a lot of these tools to conduct her work in the classroom, or outside of the classroom, rather. What I do want to say is, if you do find you have questions about specific tools that you or your children may be using, if you contact Thomas, I can do some research in the future and one-on-one maybe help you with some of those specific tools. But today I'm just going to cover kind of why we use these with students and what the benefit is for them, whether they are blind, not blind, or for you as a parent, to help them stay educated and entertained and get them through this distance learning time that we are moving through. So one of the things that you can do is direct communication with teacher and student, and you, the parent, if necessary. So my child is sighted, but at first, she didn't know how to use the tool that they are using, which is Google Classroom, and neither did I. So as a parent, I had to actually use the school's platform, which is, a mobile device tool called Class Dojo. And I had to contact the school and ask them how to even access it and how to just some basics. So if you don't know what they're doing, contact your school somehow, because you should already have this relationship built up. Call them, ask questions, and make sure that you find out what tool they're using so that you can research a little bit about it before using it. They had Google Chromebooks, and my husband helped with this as well. And so that was something that we had to do, was ask how and can we have the accessibility features available on the Chromebook available to us so that we could either use magnification or speech. So that's the first step. But this allows you also, once you have these steps in place, to collaborate with your teacher. Your student can get real-time help from the teacher if they have questions about an assignment. the teacher can view their work, which is really important, especially if they're doing something like mathematics or grammar or any kind of handwriting or spelling. It allows for one-on-one help where the teacher could see their work and talk to them directly, which is wonderful. And you, the parent, then could also step in and ask questions right there to serve as a guide if need be, so that when the student is doing work later, you've heard the teacher's instructions and have had this conversation as well. So that real-time onboard help is really, really great. The next thing I'm going to talk about is communication between peers. Your student is missing that, engagement with their classmates, their friends. And one of the things that they can do is now communicate with their friends, whether it's via chat, whether they're discussing things the way we are today. These are options, and it allows them to engage with their peers that they are used to seeing and gives them a social outlet, which you want to provide, because that's really important for kids. And this kind of distance, even though they may not talk about it, it is a big change for them, and it might increase some anxiety and fear in them. And it allows them to reach out to their friends and have that bit of normalcy, that teasing between classmates. Or in recent days, there's been a project, and my daughter was able to communicate with her friends, and they were partnered up, and 2 kids worked together to collaborate on a project, and they were able to, in real time, discuss ideas, assign responsibilities, and decide who was going to do what part of the project and how they were going to make it all come together. And then you can share files. Of course, that for a 10-year-old was not so much a big deal, but if you have a teenager or someone in high school, then yes, that might be a thing that they would be doing, is sharing and saving files, and so that their information can be together in one file that they can both access and edit. And that is huge. So those are important tools that, they're going to be using and that you can help with. And don't forget to advocate and communicate with that teacher to ask about assignments and how it's supposed to be done and what tools are being used. And if you need assistance, see if you can set up an appointment at the school to get, for instance, something as simple as a new charger. We got home with the Chromebook and the charger didn't work. We had to go get a new one. And so I had to set an appointment, and we had to take care of that. So ask for what you need, and don't be afraid to tell an administrator or their teacher that you need assistance. So another way that online tools are helping students is by being able to research. Libraries haven't really been open, and where they would normally go physically to a place and look up information, they are not doing. And so now you are needing to look up things so that they can answer questions, find information outside of their textbook if they're writing a report or if they are doing a project. That way they can, see images and get information. And so online tools have become a thing that's readily used. Maybe you could use something like YouTube to listen and watch a documentary on the subject that you are doing a project for, or that your student is doing a project for, and being able to just, Google information. And so using those tools and being able to incorporate that information in your classroom work, which they are already doing at school, but now they're doing it with these distant learning tools applied as well. So those are some things that I know are going on, and there are different apps and programs that people are using. So talk to your school, talk to your administrators, advocate for yourself and your child, and teach your child how to advocate for themselves. And it may be that you have to do some research on how to use the program yourself as well, and be prepared to do that, or reach out to one of us, and I will do as much as I can to help you. If you contact Thomas, he'll put you in touch with me, and I would be happy to assist you. So thank you for joining us this morning, and I hope that all goes well. Thomas, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Taryn. So it turns out that distance learning actually isn't all that hard isn't all that much different from sometimes the education beforehand, because so many things have been going digital and onto electronic devices for a long time. But the information is available, whether your student is sighted or visually impaired. It's just a matter of advocating for what you need and what they need. So thank you, Taryn, for talking about that. It's not all about school and work, though. Sometimes you just need to relax and interact with people. That's something we haven't been able to do. You can't just go and have dinner with your friends or have a barbecue in the backyard. Sometimes you need to see people that aren't just your family, because much as you love your family, you need you need more people in your life to keep from going crazy. Devon Guzman is going to speak to us a little bit about how to use these virtual tools, maybe to set up a virtual happy hour or participate in other groups that other organizations are putting on. There's items happening all over the country right now, and you can be a part of it once Yvonne gives you some more info. Take it away, Yvonne.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Devon Guzman, and I do apologize for my background. It is a bit loud here where I am. I am one of the production trainers here at the Travis Association for the Blind. And I, like Thomas says, I'm going to explain some other ways you can use Zoom other than work and school. So it doesn't all have to be a little bit boring, maybe. Within the recent month or two, everyone's pretty much been in quarantine and social distancing. So a lot of people, both blind and sighted, have turned to social media to keep in touch with friends and family and everyone of the alike. So what some of the blindness advocate organizations such as the NFB and ACB have done is they have scheduled these weekly type Zoom meetings for people to join depending on specific topics. Like they do have one for the Way Around app. I think it's a navigational app that you can use both indoors and outdoors that they have every week on Tuesdays at 12:30. There is also a JAWS beginner training from the NFB of Pennsylvania that they have also every week on Mondays at 11 a.m. And Tech Talk, and that one actually has a specific passcode. So being able to join these meetings on your computer using Zoom, you can also join them using the Zoom mobile app, or each Zoom meeting also has its own identical phone number or individual phone number, and also has a, I guess what's a PIN code or a passcode to also join certain Zoom meetings as well. So you can join these types of meetings. There's also quite a few more that we haven't listed. And if anyone is interested, I would be more than willing to research other types of Zoom meetings, such as, I know there are quite a few workout Zoom meetings. There's a few book club meetings. And you can also find those if you join the NFB mail list or search for certain groups on Facebook. There's a lot of Facebook groups who meet up socially once a week as well. Another thing that is possible is for you to actually create your own Zoom meeting. So when you sign up for Zoom and create your account, you have your own specific Zoom ID and a meeting ID. So anyone who wants to join your meeting, all you have to do is either send them a link to the meeting, or via text, or anywhere you can message someone, and they can easily join your meeting as well. And you can have I can't remember what the limit is right now on Zoom, but it's a good size, so you can have quite a few people in your group. And I think that's one of the pretty cool things about that is, you know, you're social distancing, you're you know, it's hard to keep from going crazy when you're not around people. I'm an introvert, but I know sometimes it helps to kind of have that contact with someone occasionally. So possibly meeting with people, even if it's on a computer, is pretty helpful, especially with everyone having to quarantine themselves and social distance themselves. So it is a way to keep in touch with friends, to kind of hang out and, you know, talk about specific things. Or even if you just want to talk to family and video chat with multiple people from your family who are in different areas at the same time, that can work pretty easily as well. So again, if anyone is interested in any more types of Zoom meetings, or any specific type that they want me to look for, depending on hobby or training purposes or anything of the sort, please let Thomas know, and he will get you my contact information, and I will be more than happy to assist any way I can. Thank you, and thank you guys for joining.
All right, thank you, Yvonne. So she mentioned a few different meetings, but that was just a tiny taste of the different items that people have out there. I know that I just found a few and threw together to mention specifics today, but there are dozens of people having different social groupings on Zoom. I've got some friends in California and in Indiana and all over the country that I can meet with. So actually social distancing can sometimes bring us more together than we were before. So that's kind of nice. Now Angie is going to speak to us a bit about some ideas for topics we're going to discuss in future meetings. I think we've had something kind of interesting today, and hopefully we will have many more interesting topics for you going forward. Hit it, Angie.
Thank you, Thomas. Again, I just want to go, first of all, thank everybody for joining us. This is, like I mentioned, our first webinar, and this is kind of like a highlight of what we want to present to the community and to kind of see what the needs are so we can have various topics. Like today we covered 3, but we want to cover more, such as, you know, things for shopping, how to do maybe Instacart, what's accessible gadgets that you can use at home, smart homes, tips and tricks for using Android and speech, employment workshops. I mean, that's just very few topics that we listed. There's so much more. There may be stuff of maybe we can show people what we have in our store, a low vision store. And there may be needs that you guys want to know and learn more about. So again, this would be really good for you to share that with us and with others, that we are available and we want to provide that support. So anything that we can do to help you guys learn, help us learn and work together, please just go ahead and reach out to us. So with that, I mean, is there any questions and answers, or any questions, I'm sorry, you guys have on what we discussed now or what we want to go with in the future? I'll go ahead and open that to the floor here.
So if you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand with Alt-Y, and either Angie or I can allow you to talk, and you can ask your question, or you can use Alt-H and type your question into the chat. Make sure it goes to everyone.
Is there any ideas or topics that anybody would like to see in maybe a next webinar? Like if we were to do this, let's say next week, if we do this weekly, monthly, any ideas or any suggestions? Eric?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I would like the topic to learn how to do the voiceover on the iPhone.
Okay. So voiceover for iPhone would be a potential topic that is an interest of you. Okay.
Eric, anything specific that you want to do with voiceover, or just kind of a general overview about what it allows you to do on the iPhone?
It would, yeah, this is Eric here. Yeah, it would be like a general overview. I make an attempt to learn how to use it, but I did need some, it would be good to have some education on the navigational part of it and how the different function works.
We can definitely do that. I like that idea. I also, I think, saw a hand up from Ned. Let's see, Angie, can you unmute it?
Okay. Where did he go? I unmuted it. Ned, are you there? I hit unmute, but it's not allowing me to. Okay.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh, there
we
it
go.
goes.
Yes, my question goes back to Yvonne. When Yvonne was talking about virtual meetings, she mentioned there's a meeting ID. Like if I wanted to set up a group or meet with some people, she mentioned there's an ID. Where does that ID live, or how do you get that ID to send out to people?
So that's something that you would, if you are trying to create a meeting, that's something
Yes.
that when you set it up, the Zoom program will provide you. It's like, it's a 9 or 10 digit number.
Yes.
That they would enter into their copy of Zoom. The other way is you can get an address where you just put it into a web browser and it will automatically open Zoom into the correct meeting. You might
like for
get
today,
those from emails.
For today's meeting, I got an email and there was an ID number, meeting ID, and I copied it and then I pasted it into my Zoom thing when I was going to join the meeting, and then it took me there. So who created that meeting ID number?
Oh, that was, we created it when we set up for this conference. So that I actually created that number and I sent that email out to Regina and then she forwarded it on.
Right.
So that's sort of, you can create your own, or you can join other people's groups just using the link. There's a link, or you can use paste in the number like you did. You kind of did the slightly harder way, but it all gets to the same place.
Right. Well, I found it. It took me a while, but I found it and was able to copy and paste it. And so my question goes back to then, if I want to start a meeting, I just make up a number and I guess.
No, when you're in the Zoom program, if you'll press a button that just says start meeting, or
yes.
You can press the one that says schedule meeting. And it will give you some prompts to put in the date and time that you would like to meet and how long it's going to be. And then once you hit the final schedule button, it will create a number. And that's the number that you can share with other people.
Oh, okay.
Ed, I think that's the answer to it. This is Angie speaking. And I think that answers your question, that Zoom program will automatically generate that number.
Oh,
and I have it shared on my screen so you can kind of click over it, but it does have where it has the actual link for the individual. When you send that out to the participants, it will have that link along with that number that's generated from Zoom for them to either click or copy and paste, or like you did join by phone, there's phone numbers and links that way as well.
So going back to on the bottom of my computer on the left, there's that little glow, that little world on my computer, and I click on, and then the programs come up, and I go and find Start Zoom. And so when I start Zoom, in that box will be where I can have the options to initiate a meeting, right? Rather than, is that correct?
Yes, there was when you did that Start Zoom in that box, what you pressed to get here was the join button.
Yes.
There's also a start button that lets you, or schedule. I think there's two, start and schedule.
Yeah, there's both.
They let you make your own. So you join someone else's or you start your own and then invite other people.
Okay. Okay. Well, this is helpful. Thank you.
Cool. Glad to help.
All right. Now I see a couple of topics here coming from Regina. Computer accessibility, navigate accessibility. Maybe that's what that is, and external software. Regina, are those just topics you want to cover, or those questions you have?
Yeah, I mean, I just thought they might be topics of interest. And I guess what I meant is like the accessibility that's kind of built into the like Windows platform,
Okay.
and then also the other like other software programs, because I know we do have a range. Some people are using JAWS, and some people are still, you know, able to kind of get by with, you know, enlarging their text. And so there's a wide range of different.
What I'm
So this
hearing
options
is,
for accessibility.
I'm hearing
Yeah.
you're interested in maybe in some introduction to how to use Windows Narrator and Windows Magnifier, the tools that are already built into Windows.
Yeah, I
For
think
people
that would
who may
be
not be ready to go out and get a screen reader, they can just use what's already there for a while.
right. I think some people aren't familiar with it, and I know I probably myself could be a little bit better acquainted with them.
No, that's a good topic. I like that one.
Okay.
I'm kind of a tech nerd, so any technical topics are right up my alley.
Anybody else have any questions or anything you want to add as far as other topics?
Let's see, Eric, I see has his hand up.
Yeah, this is Eric here. Another topic idea. I'm a new MacBook user, and I've been using Zoom off and on for interviews and etc. What would be nice, another topic would be some various shortcut that could various shortcut that would be helpful when you on Zoom or chatting with somebody, instead of having to go to the accessibility feature and trying to navigate it. Are there like a list of different shortcuts that that could be utilized?
So Eric, this is Angie speaking. So just like what we did earlier in the very beginning, you're looking for something more elaborate from what Aaron had posted, just different shortcuts for mute, Alt-A, chat, Alt-H, or things like that. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay.
So one quick tip that I do all the time, and it doesn't always work out for me, but I can usually get some more information, is if I Google any computer program and keyboard shortcut or hotkey, I'll try both because different people use different words. So if I do a Google search for Zoom keyboard shortcuts, it gives me a list of 30, there's like 30 something different shortcuts, and nobody's going to remember all of them. That's why we only covered the top 3. But you can use, you'll eventually, the more you use it, you'll learn all the different shortcuts. I also do that with things like Microsoft Outlook shortcuts, Microsoft Outlook hotkeys, and different programs. Just a Google search will very frequently bring up a list that's really nice, and you can just copy that into a document, enlarge it, and emboss it, or print it out, or whatever you might need. And honestly, for some of these shortcuts, it's handy to have it on paper alongside your computer so that you can just read it while you're still in the program, rather than trying to switch around to different windows. So that's a tip, is you can almost always find a big list of shortcuts. It's just usually going to have more shortcuts on it than you need on a daily basis.
Okay. So basically, I would, this is Eric here, sorry. So basically, I would Google search for MacBook, all the shortcut for accessibility features then, right?
Oh, well, you can do that. And you will get hundreds. I know the Mac has so many shortcuts, and there are classes specifically for how to use the Mac from a keyboard. I know some people who do online classes. I know the Apple Store, when they're actually open, they have an accessibility class that they do. I don't know how frequently, I don't remember the date and time, but they do have some
They used to do it on Wednesdays. At least the Barton Creek store did. I'm not sure if they still do, but.
This is Angie. Eric, but that's something that we can look into and possibly have a smaller subgroup to kind of go over these things and maybe practice as we go along of using the commands that Aaron had posted in the chat. So that is something that we can probably look into as a future smaller group.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. No, I tried with the Apple Store accessibility, and I had some difficulty getting in contact and trying to work it out. But anyway, that sounds good, Angie. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Let's see, I saw a hand raised, but it said 2 participants. It didn't give me a name. I saw Aaron's go down, but I don't know who the other one was.
Okay.
Aaron just send a list of the Mac voiceover commands.
Thank you, Aaron. Let's see, somebody else has their hand up, or is that it?
All right, so if everybody, is interested in, maybe we can try to do this. Again, this is kind of what you guys, we want your feedback. Would you like something like this with a topic, which we'll go get to next once a week or monthly? What's the vibe on that? What is everybody looking for?
This is Eric here. I like the idea of bi-weekly.
Okay.
I mean, I think weekly would be good, but I think, bi-weekly would be good.
Okay.
Bi-weekly feels right for me. Just give us enough time to prepare. Something weekly, they're going to be a little lighter weight than if we have 2 weeks to prepare.
That was going to be my next question. Is 10 a.m. a good time, or should we do like a later time, or?
Yeah, does anybody have a preference on time? I picked 10 a.m. completely at random.
This is Eric talking. Well, right now I'm not working, so anytime's good, but I down the road, I mean, probably evening would be better.
Regina, I think we would probably do the same day, unless and try to find a day that works for the most people. But if somebody had a specific session they would like us to cover and they couldn't do daily or do a specific day, we could change it. But I think bi-weekly gives us enough time to process and get prepared for future ones. And then of course they are being recorded, so you will be able to get at the previous sessions. We'll put those up on our website. I've just got to work out the logistics of how to do that.
All right, so if there's no other questions, we'll work on the bi-weekly for Mondays. And for now, we'll stick to the same date and time until we get more feedback and have to adjust if necessary. And Thomas, do you want to go ahead and
I thought one last, before we wrap up, Ned, you had your hand raised.
Oh.
I felt like he was waving at us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Thomas, you were going to give your contact information one more time.
Yep, I sure am. So rather than try to give you a whole lot of different email addresses, I figure I'll give you my address, and then I will be glad to get anybody in touch with any of the rest of our team about specific topics. So my email address is Thomas, THOMAS.Stivers, STIV as in Victor, ERS, at, there we go, Austin Lighthouse, all one word, .org. And Angie just put it into the chat as well.
Can you say that again? Okay, it's because, when Regina put it into the chat, it was reading it to me.
Oh.
So it was reading her chat as well as you talking. So I missed it was all garbled between her reading and your reading. So it's Thomas.Stivers at
Austin Lighthouse, AUSTINLIGHTHOUSE.
Okay, Austin Lighthouse is all one word?
Yes.
Okay, Austin Lighthouse, okay.
.org.
.org.
Yes, sir. That is one of the interesting challenges as a screen reader user, is when you're doing this, especially in groups with a lot of sighted participants. There's going to be a lot of people using chat and things. So it can be a challenge to learn how to ignore the JAWS speaking and hear just the right amount of information. Just practice is, I think, the only way to really get good at that. I know that's a challenge for me too, is when you hear JAWS say something and somebody else is speaking, to not get too distracted.
Headphones are your friend with these types of things, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, headphones definitely
You've got
help.
screen readers and voices, human voices going at the same time. It's easier to catch it if you have
that's
headphones.
like on, am I still muted? Am I still talking?
Here. We hear you.
Yes, when I'm using VoiceOver on my iPhone, when I'm talking to somebody on the telephone and I get a message or I get something, that overrides and it tells me what I'm getting, and then it mutes the person I'm talking to on the telephone. And I have to say to them, can you please repeat what you just said, because I didn't hear you because my voiceover was talking to me.
Yeah, that happens to us all. You're not alone in that. Most of the time when your phone is touching your face, it will mute voiceover and it will not do that. But if you're on speakerphone, voiceover will definitely jump in there and start talking to you, or if you're on headphones.
Okay, well, thank you for that tip.
I don't know how helpful it is, because sometimes you don't want to hold your phone to your face. You want to use headphones, but yeah, if you are holding it to your ear, voiceover won't cut in. If you're using headphones, it typically will. Okay. These are exactly the kind of tips that I love that we have on these calls. Well, does anybody else have any questions or suggestions for topics in the future, anything like that, before we go ahead and wrap up for the day? I'm not hearing anyone or seeing any hands go up or anything. So I'd like to thank everybody for participating. This has been a lot of fun. It has been an interesting new challenge for us, and I look forward to continuing having these virtual presentations. Again, a special thank you to Northwest Hills Eye Care, Dr. Miller and Regina, who have helped us sort of connect with people. And also special thanks to the leadership at the Austin Lighthouse for giving us the resources to make this happen, and believing in the importance of education for our community. With that, I will say goodbye, and we will go ahead and wrap up this meeting. And I will make the recording available through our webpage, and we'll share that out with Dr. Miller's office as well.
What is your website?
Oh, I'm sorry. austinlighthouse.org. Okay. All right. Everybody have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Woohoo.
Fantastic.